Hello, welcome to edition number 10 of my observations. Today we're going to be discussing my country, America. You see we're in a little bit of a different location here. You're looking out my front window. Old Glory flying on the flagpole. Always, every house I ever owned, I had a flag with Old Glory and have a light on it at night. And I'm very proud of my country, very proud of my flag. And we're going to be discussing that here in a minute. Before we get into that, though, I want to remind everybody to go on to Facebook, if you're on Facebook, and go on to our Team Krause page. Our good friend, young boy by the name of Nick Roma, good friend of my son, got started with Team Krause several months ago, and we raised quite a bit of money already that we donated to pancreatic cancer research. And we're getting into our fall season, so we're going to be rolling out the Team Krause website page. We're also going to be doing a t-shirt in the fall to correlate with our the pancreatic cancer walk that's going to be happening on September 20th here in the Allentown, Pennsylvania area. So if you're in the area, since I started doing these videos, I've had a lot of friend requests, and usually from people who are friends with other people who hear about our videos, and they enjoy watching them. And I certainly enjoy having people view them. That's what I do them for. I get feedback from individuals telling me that we've helped them out, and that makes me feel awesome. And so I hope everybody from our last couple videos is enjoying their journey. Today, with Old Glory flying and the 4th of July, I decided to take a little different approach. I wanted to talk about something else that's probably the third most important thing in my life. The third thing that I'm very, very proud of, always have been. I was born a patriot. I feel that way. I love my country. I love what it stands for. And I love and I give thanks to God all the time for being an American. And that being said, let me give you a little history on myself. And I don't want this, and I've tried to keep politics, even though I've always had a passion for politics, I've always tried to keep politics out of these videos. I mean, I'm sure you can get the gist of where I'm at politically a little bit from my videos, but I don't try to overdo the politics. And really, politics is really what has us in a lot of trouble right now, in my opinion, in this country. And we always have been, to a certain extent. It's nothing completely new. A lot of people look at it and say, oh, we always, with the last couple of years, we've gone downhill. And I think, and other people think we went uphill. So, it's politics. It depends on your viewpoint. But there are a couple things that I think that we really need to look at. And so, me politically, I was brought up a staunch Democrat. And my father was a Democrat. His father was a Democrat. My mother's family, they were farmers, and they loved Franklin Roosevelt. And so I was brought up a very staunch Democrat. I was more or less indoctrinated that Republicans were bad, that Republicans were rich, didn't care about the poor, didn't care about the working man. So I sort of lived with that for, quite a few years. And even though as I watched politics growing up, and let me just say, as a young kid, I would write letters to presidents. I had a couple letters I wrote to Jimmy Carter. Got responses back, just little cards thanking him. I wrote to various senators from different states. And my high school graduation, I was awarded from the U.S. representative in my district. I was awarded the Congressman's Medal Merit Award for Outstanding Citizenship. It's a little medal that I received that I still have displayed today in my office. I'm proud of that. I voted in every single election. I missed the last primary. Sort of felt bad, even though there wasn't much to vote on, unfortunately. Last year, in the middle of getting chemo, I went and voted for governor for Pennsylvania. I told my wife, Ann, I said, I need to go vote. So we went and we voted. I've always been proud to vote. But anyway, since those days of being a Democrat, you know, in my 20s, late 20s, I really sat down and really analyzed where I stood politically. And I knew where I was going. My platform, you know, when I look at the platforms of the parties and the candidates, I am probably I'm very, very, very conservative. And in my opinion, my mom and dad were very conservative too. It's just that, you know, that's where I'm getting at is we have so many people in this country who I don't really feel vote their conscience. And it's probably both ways. I mean, there's certainly people who were brought up Republican who are very liberal. And I think the one thing that we really need to do as individuals is sit down and figure out what is really important to us and really look at the platforms of both parties and make a determination of where do I really stand? Where do I stand politically? And use that as the basis for electing our presidents and senators and congressmen, because we are in such a situation now where everything is so polarized. You really need to stand, you know, up for what you truly believe. And I'd like to see more of us take a more serious look at where we stand politically. That doesn't mean we're going to agree with every single thing, but for the most part, you know, when you look at the platforms of the candidates and their views, that's what we should be voting on, not how they look or whether they're a D or an R, you know, because you may be a registered Republican, but in reality, you have views that are very liberal, and that's fine. You're entitled to your views, but just make sure you're voting your true conscience and not voting based on how your great-grandfather voted and or what's popular at the time. You know, when I was in college, it was very sort of unpopular for young people to vote Democrat because it just wasn't cool at the time. Now I think it's switched somewhat for young people, and that's fine. But vote your conscience. That's what I'm saying. And then the next thing, I mean, I don't want to just dwell on that, but the next thing as a country that we really need to do is we need to compromise. I am a staunch conservative. If I had my way, everything would be to the right. However, I don't have my way. And that's what's great about our country. Nobody has their way. We don't elect dictators. And we can argue now and think that our president now, he might think but no, I don't think he really feels that way. And he's not. Because if it was, we would have a lot more different things. So we need to really figure out like a way to compromise. And the news stations do not help one bit. You know, the guy behind the EIB microphone, Mr. Rush Limbaugh, who I may agree with some of his opinions, but he doesn't help. Because if you're a Republican and you reach across the aisle and you compromise, right away you're labeled a rhino, a Republican in name only. If you're a Democrat and you reach across the aisle, or if you have some different opinion, I mean, I think the most famous one, in my opinion, was the governor here from Pennsylvania many years ago, Governor Casey. Governor Casey was a pro-life Democrat. He brought something else to the table for the Democrats. And they made fun of him, and they called him Pope Casey and such. Well, he's entitled to his opinion, and, you know, he had many, many staunch supporters. And I like Governor Casey. I thought he did a good job here in Pennsylvania. And he, you know, he got so much riff from the Democratic Party because of his pro-life stance. So, you know, do we really have to, within our own party, we tear people down? So when they do get elected, they're afraid to reach across the aisle because their own party's going to hate them. And that's why we get nowhere. That's why we have the 9 people in the Supreme Court who get all these cases to decide, because nothing can be decided in Congress. And, we need to change that. I mean, I think had Ronald Reagan been president in today's world, he would be labeled a rhino. Ronald Reagan worked great with Tip O'Neill. They compromised. Reagan didn't get everything he wanted, but he got enough, and sometimes he had to sign a bill that maybe he didn't agree with everything, which is a whole new thing, too, because Congress passes all these bills with all these things attached to it. I would love to see him just be like, the bill is a singular thing, a singular item. That's what we're voting on. But they take a bill and they add, the bridge to nowhere and all these other things, and it's ridiculous, because then what happens is, years from then, because they voted for one part of the bill that they really liked, they get scrutinized and demonized for voting for something that was part of the bill, but wasn't the main gist of the bill. So you have all this, and it's political nonsense, and as much as I love politics and discussing politics, we got to get away from that. We need to really, really compromise. I would love to see that for my country, and moving forward. So politically, let's bring some God back into it. I know we have a separation of church and state, and I love that. However, our country was founded on Christian Judeo principles. We don't have an established religion. That's all the Constitution talks about. We don't have an established religion, but we need to make some decisions based on religious principles. And really, I think, to sort of summarize my whole idea, my view on government, and I could go on and on, but I don't want to get too much into into topics. But to summarize it, I think you can apply the 3 principles that I apply to living a fulfilled life to government. We need to put people in office that have wisdom. We need to put people in office who can make things simpler. We shouldn't have 8,000-page laws when the Constitution itself was just a few pages. And we shouldn't have, and we should, bring some God into it. We should make decisions. We are one country under God, whether we like it or not. We were founded on principles of Judeo-Christian principles, and we need to utilize that. We need to follow, and I think we have for many years, but we have gotten away from it. We need to follow the principles that are taught in things like the 10 Commandments in our law. The 10 Commandments should be in a public square, because our government, we had 10 amendments to the Bill of Rights. There was 12 proposed. Congress took those 12, and brought it down to 10. I think that symbolizes something. One thing that I hope to be remembered for is a man that loved his country. I love guys like Martin Luther King. I love his I Have a Dream speech. And I do feel America is the shining city on the hill. And I hope that someday our light will shine brightly. Because I truly believe that next to heaven, the United States of America is the greatest place to live. God bless our country on this 4th of July. I got my flag on my shirt. God bless you, and we'll talk to you soon.